Everybody, welcome into the Beehive. I'm your host, the Bee at LLC, and this is where we stack precious metals like it's pollen and nectar. Our pollen is silver and our nectar is gold, preserving our wealth as honey of old, and like ancient metals, we hold our own. And today we're going to do a little unboxing and talk a little bit about precious metals. What a surprise, eh? And I have my good friend here, Space Miner. Space Miner, welcome in. How are you doing?
Hey, buddy. Thanks for having me.
You bet, you bet. We got Jake's Custom Parts, Big Pizza. Welcome in, 3D Woodworks. Good to see you, my friend.
Cool.
Alrighty then. Well, first thing, let's just pull up the old bullion by post chart and see what she's reading at here.
Yeah, where are we at today, huh?
We are sitting at, are you reading this? Yes. So, excuse me. We are 66.88, a high of 67.62. Almost
Almost
pushing,
68, huh?
pushing up to 68, nearing 70.
70 around the corner any moment.
70 around the corner. I think it'll be $70 on the blackboard, on the spinning bidding board by the time we get there this Friday, or Saturday, I guess I should say.
Yeah, if it wouldn't be already, you know.
Yeah, basically, yeah, we would be we would be there right now, actually. That's where we'd be. Okay. Let's take a look at the ratio charts while I'm here. 67.51. Woohoo!
Wow, look at that drop.
On the month, down to 65. From 105 down to 65. We're making gains. If you're sitting in silver, you're making some gains. Adding that gold, even if you're just in silver.
I mean, if you trade, I mean, if you're stuck on silver, I mean, there's no shame in that either. You know, because it's a good trade doesn't mean you have to trade. You know.
Yeah.
So, like, I'd sure hate for you to lose your power tomorrow if it kept dipping down, you know?
Indeed, indeed. Liberty Blade Silver, welcome in, bud. How you doing? Anybody who wants to join, let me know. How you been, Liberty Bleeds? I got to get you back on here one of these days and catch up. Been a while since we've chatted. Yeah, all right. Well, let's not waste any time and let's see what we got here in the box.
Hey, welcome in. Think Differently. Nice to see you.
Think Differently 3000.
So what'd you pluck up today, B?
What'd I what?
What'd you pluck up today? What you got?
Well, thinking we got next in line in the Commander series.
Bum, bum, bum. Anybody else stacking Commanders out there? Dude, I love the Commander series. I think that's a cool series. Like, I really appreciate the Commander series. And I think that's a good one to stack, like a good segue away from ships. I know there's a lot of us that are like ship lovers. And, you know, and so that's like a nice little segue out of the ships for a minute if you want to like diversify your collection. So that's my opinion.
Indeed.
It wouldn't be Washington. It'd be Washington this time, Liberty. I believe.
Yeah, B. Taylor, indeed, Liberty. I know he's doing the Commander series as well. I got to get him back up here too. See how things are going for him.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear from him. I wish I would have started on the Commanders early. You know, I did not. And it would be an expensive catch-up.
Yeah.
There's a few of them I really want. I really want Cortez. That's one of them.
Yeah. You know? Well, it's fitting for your area, I suppose. He probably came through your area at one time or another.
Yeah, we were big in the Spanish routes. We were Mexico for a long time. We were one of the last states to join the Union, or to join the Union, or the corporation, I should say. Right. But yeah, in fact, we have some towns in my area that are older than the state itself is. You know.
Oh, and yeah, I bet.
So,
like example,
like Aztec right here. Aztec just down the road was, 30 years older than our actual state. A lot of the families that still reside here, were a lot of them accepted nationality into the states to retain their land. And so a lot of them didn't necessarily want to become United States citizens, but to retain their land, they adopted the citizenship, and so a lot of the families here are older than the state itself. So 1913, 1914 is when we finally became a state. So
cool. Whoa, somebody subscribed to me. Whoever subscribed, thank you for subscribing. Alrighty, here. Let's see. Are you doing this live stream in portrait and landscape? Yes, I am. If so, did it prompt you to do so? Yeah, StreamYard has been giving that option now for a month or two. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you have to select it. You do.
Well, for me, it automatically sets it up now in both. But yeah, it's just a click of a button. You can go back to just landscape or just portrait.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that. Get them when they first come out to get the best price. Yeah.
What do you think about the portrait or the landscape, Liberty? Hey, Alan Satoshi Greenspan. He knows what's up. How you doing, bud? Good to see you. You enjoying the move in silver? Even though it's a sad thing to see happen, those of us that are in it can't help but, smile knowing that you're correct, even though it's a sad thing. All right, we're gonna get into this bad boy here and see what it looks like. Yeah, what do you think about it, Liberty Bleeds? Do you think that it's a good thing doing both landscape and portrait? Like with me, I notice right now I'm looking at in StreamYard. In fact, I need to move this up to my other screen. But in the StreamYard application, on my left it shows the vertical 2 screens, and then my main screen is the landscape. And in my landscape, my video feed is in the bottom right of my screen. But in the portrait, you can't even see my video feed, like my face. So it's not, I don't know, I do have a, where is it? There you go. Now that one I think is seen on both. Yeah, a little bit. I'm half cut off. So I don't know. What do you think about the both ways, landscape and portrait? Is it a good idea to do it both ways, or what?
Are you asking me? Or still Liberty?
He says he's on the portrait mode. Yeah, well, that's, it's amazing to see how many people, like, I think Space Miner's even on his phone right now. So a lot of people do just access this stuff off their phone, which is surprising to me because I'm always on a or not always, but generally I'm on a laptop. So I always prefer the landscape. But surprisingly, a lot of people do just watch on their phone. What do you prefer there, Space Miner?
I like to watch in landscape on the phone. Just it gives me a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you go vertical, it doesn't let you like browse back up or exit out of your window on my phone, right? And so if I do anything else with my phone, it automatically stops scrolling the live, right? It automatically stops running the live. Whereas in the landscape mode, I could get out of the window, still navigate the rest of my phone and still like listen and participate. So I prefer landscape.
10-4. Now I see something right away that kind of bothers me here. These came shipped together in this plastic bubble wrap, and then this bubble wrap came in out of this bubble wrap. However, if there is no separation between these coins, like, you should at least individually wrap each coin, because if they're not individually wrapped, then they have been rubbing up against each other and there's going to be scratches on the plastic case. So let's check this out and see.
Yeah, and I don't imagine those replacements are cheap.
Exactly. See, yeah, and they are. They're just sitting, rubbing up against each other all day long in there like that, and that's not good. They should have at least double wrapped them. But it doesn't look too bad.
Oh, wow. Look at the size of those. Those look great. Like medallions, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just pirate enough for medallions.
Let me do a little
Oh, yeah. Look at that. That looks great.
Let me do a little zooming in here.
You know, I like what they've been doing with these, with their contour, like clothing and like leather and stuff like that. The way they've been making them wave and shimmer and I don't know. It's just got a lot more vibrancy than it used to, you know, in other strikes. These ones are really, really vibrant. The light's always moving. I really enjoy what they've been doing lately.
Yeah, I like them too. This is interesting though. I see a lot of little micro scratches within his hat there, which is interesting. Like,
is that just the capsule?
No, it's actually the coin. There's a bunch of little.
Well, there's gonna be. I mean, they use like steel beads and stuff like this, you know, ceramic beads, and like they use all sorts of weird pellets to polish these.
Yeah,
you know, I don't know, or they're hand polished on these. I don't know how they do the double. It's struck that way.
Yeah, well, they polish the dies up, and then when they strike them, it should be pretty smooth. But there's like all these little micro scratches. I don't know what that's from, but
it could be like part of like the minting. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen how they are. The
Dude, look at all the
system's kind
scratches.
of rough.
Look at all the scratches on him.
Yeah,
Like,
dude,
he's got quite a few little scratches on his face and on his. Is that on the coin? I think that's on the coin. Man, what in the world here?
dude, pull the capsule. Take a look.
I think I might have to pull the capsule, but you see those little scratches all over him that I'm seeing?
Can you go full screen with that? There we go. That'll help. If I see one, I'll tell you.
There's like a bunch of little small ones all over his coat, all over his cheek.
Man, I'm telling you, the way these processes are, it might be a hard thing to avoid. I don't know. Have the other ones been as bad?
No, the other ones don't have these, and I don't know. I'll have to decapsule it and make sure, but I think that's on it. In fact, this is the roughest. The bust.
Check the other one. Check the other one.
This guy is very scratched up. I'll decapsule and look, but I'm actually surprised at how rough.
B, check the other one and see if any of these scratches
All right,
are
we'll
the
do.
same.
Let me check the back here first on this one, then we'll get to that one.
Fair enough. Yeah, that brush area, or that like acid base look, that's an area that'll take shiny nicks real easily.
Right. But see, like, okay, let me grab my pointer here. See in this polished area with the 5 stars, this polished area is the same as the polished area on like his cheek and whatnot. But see, I'm not seeing any of those little scratches on this polished piece. So that makes me wonder why is there.
Well, remember when they strike them and then they come out, they go down like assembly trays and they like slide down little ramps, and then they're like carried down other like little conveyor belts, and then they're slapped down. One of the sides is going to be slapped down on the scale. Like, it's going to make contact with the scale at some point, and then it's going to go over into a pile where somebody's going to pull them out by hand and then encapsulate them. So, like, there's like still like a lot of handling, even like between the final striking and reading. I think the reading is the last thing they do.
Okay, so this one is questionable. We'll open the capsule in a second. This is the other one I'll take a look at. Chew, good to see you, Chew. At Chew. All right.
Yeah.
Let's zoom back in here to this one.
Now, you could possibly have, like, if you find some matching scratches, you could possibly have like either like a machine flaw or like a die flaw.
First thing, over here in this top corner, there's something.
I see that
on the coin there. Looks like it just got stuck in between the capsule. Okay, and then how are we looking on this hat for mini scratches? See, it's not as bad on this one. There's not as many little miniature scratches on his hat. Now let's check his face and see this face. See, this one's quite way. See, there's no little. This one is polished up nice, no bunch of little scratches. This one looks primo. Whereas this other one, we'll put them side by side, but this one looks actually quite nice.
Are you brave enough to take them out of the case and weigh them?
This one's got a bunch of little micro scratches on the plastic, but I expect that since they just shipped them together like that. I'm kind of surprised that they did ship them together like that.
Sometimes they'll let a rougher one go if it's like a higher weight.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit frustrated that they packaged the see, you can look at all these little micro scratches on the case here like that. If they would have wrapped them separately, I wouldn't have all those little micro. Someone evidently, my guess is it's somebody new working there. It's probably getting close to Christmas time. They probably, with the price, there's probably getting a lot of orders. And I bet somebody new just slapped these things together and sent them out. But that's kind of a no-no when you...
Are you going to send it back, or are you going to...
I might, that other one, I might have to, like... This one actually looks pretty... Except for the case being messed up, the coin looks pretty clean.
Do you have a magnifying glass on there that, like, maybe we can document it a little bit better right now?
Yeah, well, I even have this microscope I can turn on next to me and put it under there. But, okay, now let's check the back here.
Yeah, before you open the case or anything like that. Yeah. Do you see any sharp points on the reed? Sometimes, sometimes they in the reading process, or it won't completely shave the reed, and so sometimes you can get some high reed. Sometimes like a whole like sharp edge.
Not really seeing any problems on the back.
But those are indicative of heavier pieces.
Here's some scratches, but I think that's on the case. Yeah, that's on the case. You can see the double. When it's on the case, you can kind of see the double. Looks like there's two scratches, but it's just the one bouncing off the reflection.
Yeah, dirty assembly line, right, Pink? I mean, because, like, literally, like, it'll strike them, and then those kind of, like, slide down some ramp, and then they're, like, kind of, like, chittered down some conveyor belt, and then they get, like, spun through a reed machine, which will, like, literally, it drags it, like, around this wheel. Like, I
don't think that's the case with these, though, to be honest, Space Miner. You might be right, like, maybe they'll invite us down for a tour to check, but I think that, like, on this one, so the very, okay.
You think they're pressing the reed in? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, on this first one they did, there's actually no reeded edge. It's just a flat stamp all the way out to the edge like an ancient coin, and there's no reeded edge on the first two in their production line. They didn't do reeded edges. But then and people were complaining because the face of the bust was rubbing on the capsule, and so then they decided to do the reeded edge because it stands out a little way, and so that way the capsule isn't rubbing on the bust of the figure. However, I think that the reeded edge is now done as it's stamped. I think the reeded edge gets stamped in it at the same time.
That could be so. It could be.
And then I don't know that with these 5 ounces, like you're right that on like, the U.S. Mint or just regular 1 ounce rounds, they'll get stamped and then go down a conveyor belt and drop into a container. And, if they're landing on each other, they might scratch each other. I think these are, though, almost done singly. Like one gets stamped, they pick it up off the conveyor belt, put it this. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to find that out.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like, you imagine, like, a Mint has, like, a high production line, and then it's probably got some, like, specialized equipment for, like, special pieces. And
yeah.
So, if I was a very large company, I imagine I'd have some dedicated machines,
See, look, I'll hold these up together, and you'll be able to see, I bet, that... Okay, so let me see up on this one. Let me get...
Yeah, 3D says the first one definitely had chattering. Yeah, chattering is what comes to mind.
There's
Thank you.
all of these little scratches on his coat, on his face, on his hat. Look at all these up on here on his hat. That is like major chatterage or scratchage. Look at on his coat right here. There's a bunch of scratchy, as opposed to this one is
Yeah, like that
nice.
one's the bottom dweller, and this one was like a top pile. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's got a clean hat, clean cheeks, clean coat, no little scratches. This one is wow. Look at all the little miniature
You
scratches
know,
on
you
it.
can almost see a little bit of yellowing in it too. You know, not a lot, but like compared to the bluish I was seeing out of that other one, the other one seemed to register a little bit bluer.
Dude, this one is just all over. What happened to this poor guy? Washington got
You know
beat
what it
up.
could be? You know what it could be? Hold on. It could be end of die. You could have two different stages in the die.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that they would let him go out to the public
I don't know. Right
looking
there at
like
the end of the
that.
die, they're not going to reset the die halfway through it. It would
Oh,
be
they repolish
die.
dyes. They would not. I just can't imagine a lot. They would allow that out. I am quite man.
Yeah, I can see it now. It's like almost pockmarked.
It's just thrashed.
I mean, it's nothing I would be ashamed of in my pile, but
Oh, if you were seeing it in person, you'd be.
would I be
I
pretty upset,
this
bro?
this is pretty bad. I don't know what
Maybe
happened.
you should tell. Just put a piece of tape around that and say no.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send that one back because, like, let me zoom in here on this. I'm gonna zoom even a little closer and show you guys the difference. Um,
Yeah, I can see. He almost looks hairy.
exactly. He looks hairy. Um, I don't even know how you would get all those little scratches on there like that, unless I take this
Contaminated dye
capsule
at the end
off.
of life. Contaminated dye at the end of life would do just that.
I know. I almost guarantee you they would not let coins go out if the die was doing that to them.
Well, they let it go out into pile then. Either way, they let it go out.
Yeah, I don't know. Something that is quite odd.
Or
Now,
somebody took it, messed with it, cleaned it up, and set it back in.
yeah, I mean, maybe it was sitting out on the open for a while and had dust on it, and somebody took like a cloth to it to clean it. It'd be
Yeah,
my
like a
only
light brush or a blow off or something, and it pocked it,
right.
kind of
Because
like
see,
your
this one's
windshield
all
does.
clean. Like this one is polished without all the little fracturing. There might be some. This is so much better.
I don't know, man. I'm still leaning at like end of die. Uh, I'm
I don't
leaning
know.
there like
I would
contaminated
bet
end
that
of
it's
die.
not. They don't. I just. Yeah, I don't think so. They
My
won't let
follow up would be exposed with brushing.
dyes. Dye. Uh, dye messed up dye doesn't look like even those little scratches is not how a messed up dye would look. Like these that type of little scratching is.
But you know, there is some legitimacy to your protest, and let me tell you why. Some additional reasons why. Because a die lasts longer through these curved areas. So this deep relief like this will actually have a longer die life than the flat part around his bust. So if the die was going to have like major errors, it would present itself in the flattest areas first, just so you know. So, so
Well,
if you were to
yeah,
look for
this.
die error, you would look into the difference at the flat areas between one to the other as compared to the bust.
Well, yeah, the field here, being that the field is
Filled.
kind of acid etched, it's not a polish. That matte, almost velvety finish, you would see errors in it, but there's like no errors in the field really. It's pretty good in the field.
Any smudging or long strike of that velvet?
Not in that coin's pretty good. It's this one that is just like what happened. Ah.
Man, it
Let's see.
really
Look
does.
at the
If it's not
field.
dying, it's exposed. It was exposed.
I think yeah, it was I agree. It's not the dye.
Yeah, 3D's like the matte finish would be dull if it was buffed. Okay, that's a reasonable statement. He's right.
Yeah, unless you just were wiping off the polished area, but
Yeah, I gave it a
yeah.
couple blows, a little air dust, and a quick like tap with
That's
the
horrible.
mop.
I don't know what happened. That's so weird.
And see, it's for that reason though that like because we don't see any of it on that field, right? That it makes me want to lean towards dye contamination because in the dye that would be a recessed point. So it'd be easy to impact through time, you know? And it's not something you could like clean out so easily either, you know, without like a really aggressive cleaning.
No, because dye like they'll do that sometimes to a dye, take it out and polish it, but like
Maybe at like
they
10,000, but not, what's the series limited to? 5,000?
yeah, I think 4,000 or 5,000, something like that.
Probably just enough to maintain the integrity of the field.
Yeah, they would just switch out to a brand new dye on a short run like this. Like they're not going to let a dye be the problem. Like that would be bad quality control. What happened to this one? I do not know, but
you know, and I suppose that matte finish would be a little bit more resistant to scuffing if left exposed, right?
Actually, no. The matte finish is.
You think it would show it first?
It would show quite acid etch like that. Actually, shows pretty quick if you touch it or budge it, because it's actually a bunch of little tiny raised metal, like
right.
if you just
so it would flatten over.
Right, it would lay it down and it would become quite visible. Like all those little scratches, if it was on the matte area, it would be quite visible as well. So,
but not to like dust falling on it though. Like, don't you think it would be more resistant to the like dust landing on it than a flat? I'm just trying to find excuses for this, mind you. Dude, I don't know. Some of those look quite impacted. Like, stop right there. Like, in the upper left corner of that hat,
yeah,
it like streaks by at like from like a 1 o'clock to like a 7 o'clock position. There's one line in particular that looks deeply impacted.
Yeah, it does look like almost a rough towel was used to try to brush it off, and it just made it bad. Trying to see if I can see anything in the
like a starting point, maybe.
Or might even be on those letters. I'm looking at that.
See if you can find a starting point on the field that extends into the polish.
Even those little letters. That might be on the capsule though, but I'm seeing even little scratches on the letters. I think I gotta take the capsule off to make sure it's not just the capsule.
I've been fooled by the capsule before. You know, I've been fooled, like been sure that I was looking through the capsule and no, it was the capsule. But I've also pulled off a capsule and revealed things that I was like, fuck, that's worse than I thought. You know? So I don't know. This is kind of fun though to like investigate it. You know, like I think we've given some reasonable thought towards the investigation of this finish. That's worth something in itself.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all entertainment for those watching that didn't put their money into it.
Or fuck! I'm sorry.
their fiat into it. But no, I'm joking. It's fine. I'm just like Firstly, I'm quite surprised. Like I say, I think it was probably a new hire that shipped the two capsules on top of each other without putting a separation between them. That was just a newbie error. But look at that.
What do you guys say? What does chat say? What's your guys' like resting conclusion? Man, if I had to sit on anything, if I had to really put some deep money onto it, I might go with exposed and dusted.
That's what I would go with too right now until I pop these. I think I'll leave the good one in the capsule. With this one that's so scuffed, I'm going to pop the capsule and see. But if it's scuffed up like it looks on the coin, that would be my guess too, is that somebody tried to wipe it off if it was dusty and it just scratched the bejeez out of it. And
now I know.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, again, like I said earlier, every now and then, like, sometimes they'll let something of a slightly lesser quality go if it's a slightly heavier round. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like to the people that care less, you know? But, like, a little heavier of a 5-ounce piece could be as much as, like, a gram or two. You know, which is worth something, you know?
Oh, I don't think I lost any weight or anything, but.
No, what I'm saying is, like, literally, sometimes they let some heavy ones go by. I don't know if they're just being interested.
I don't think, I know what you mean, but just some regular round of 5-ounce round of just without, but these being the Commanders, like, they put some extra time and effort into these. They want them looking nice. So,
yeah, and they're probably pretty close to even weight, I imagine. So, uniform weight, I should say. Like, dude, like when I get a batch of silver in, like, if I was to uncapsulate them all, like rip open the packages and pull them out of their capsules and weigh each one, like, there are distinguished differences in weight sometimes. Like, you think they're all 31.1? No, they're not. Some of them are, 31.3, 31.5, but they're never under 31.1.
They should all be like T and A on if they're the same. Like, if they're all buffaloes from the same mint, they should all be weighing like very much dead on. If they're different brands or whatever, they might be a bit different.
I'm telling you, they're not as uniform as you would think they are. Now, like, granted, the more effort like they put into it, like monetary coinage, yeah, like they're pretty careful with that, right? But when it comes to all of our private mintages, like, sometimes it can be, sometimes it can rest a little heavy. They always make sure that you don't get underweight, but sometimes, if it's a little overweight, they just let it through because it's easier.
No, yeah,
to get a couple more points than it is to like go cut a bunch and press a bunch more. It's just not worth it to them.
Right, like most of them are just a little bit heavy. My point is, though, they would all be the same weight heavy. If they're the same mint making the same coin, they should all weigh out very, very close.
They do close, but like at a 5-ounce, I could see that difference being even more pronounced. Just because there's voids. Like, when you get these metals, like, you can, like, there's certain like densities that you can request. Like, we know the densities of silver, right? But like sometimes you can request an even further density in your metal. Like, an atomic density, because there's like, micro air bubbles and stuff in these, and you can have those evacuated and get down to your chemical density. You can get your metals down to chemical density, but most metals don't leave at chemical density, although it's pretty close. Like most of the time we can't distinguish, but sometimes you can get down to chemical density. And like most of your precious metals are going to be closer to chemical density, just because the way they work, they're pretty dense, but metals, so they evacuate air easier and gas. But in some of your lighter metals, like density can become a real issue, So
I didn't know
yeah.
any of that. Let's see about getting into this one. Let me make sure. I'm going to take it all the way in.
Think differently says not good enough. Get a replacement.
I got to agree with you. Think differently. This one, I'm going to pop the capsule, but if it looks like this underneath and even with the capsule, like again, they should not. And luckily, I'm glad I was videoing this on the opening of it, because I showed that it was shipped capsule against capsule, and in a 5 ounce, that much weight sliding around each other is gonna damage your capsule. But this
is a soft bag, in a soft bag.
Yeah.
So
they should have had each of them wrapped in a bubble wrap, and then that inside of that bubble wrap bag would have been fine.
If there was any dust in your capsule, and it was like doing its little micro shuffling around, that could be enough too.
Right, that would do too. But it's so amazing. Like this one's clean. This one doesn't bother. This one I will let go. It's clean.
Hey, what's up, Happy?
But this one is like, yeah, and I agree about the dirt inside, but this one is so uniformly scratched that I don't know.
Are they all in one direction mostly? Can you gain an orientation?
It's like a little bit, but it's it's every which way.
Jeez, and see that. There I go again. Now I'm leaning back at a die.
It's not the die. I guarantee it's not the die.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're closer than I. You could tell better than I, of course. Yeah. Yeah, Happy.
Die damage wouldn't look like this, where there's scratches every which different direction, kind of. That's not like a die problem. A die problem would be, lines all the exact same way, maybe starting to form, or like a pressure point that's not quite right, or like, a die would have certain issues, but not like all these scratches all different ways. That wouldn't come from stamping coins.
Man, if they started the project at the end of the day, all the dust settled overnight, and then they just fired it back up again.
Yeah, no, but it wouldn't look like all those little scratches. Like you might have a piece of dust in one place that's getting stamped. That would go, but like all of these little scratches, that's just something else.
Yeah, it is quite different though, isn't it? It distinguishes itself when you hold it next to the. Dude, that's really helpful to your cause too. Is that like side by side, you can see that difference.
Oh, it's huge. The hat, it's really easy to see in the hat. Like, okay, I'm going to show you all the different light angle in the, let me see here, come down. That looks okay, but when we get into the, right there, see, look at all of that. Major, scratchy, all over, all different direction. As opposed to this one. See, that one's just smooth. That's fine. I'll this one's okay. I'll accept this one. This thing. Okay, let's take the let me back out here. We're gonna take the capsule off here and see what's going on underneath.
All right. Be real careful right here that you don't touch.
I know.
Especially if you give it back.
I don't even need to use this to open it. It's already somewhat open. Yeah, look at this. First, I want to look at just I'm going to set this down and look at how bad this capsule is.
See if you can see what the inside looks like. See if you can.
This is why you don't send pieces one on top of the other without having wrap in between. Yeah, and I'll flip it over on the inside and see.
See anything in particular?
No, I think it's mostly on the outside.
Okay.
But okay, now let me back up. Put this here on that one. All right, we're gonna.
All right, that's got to stay in its capsule, bro.
Yeah, no, so, yeah, welcome in, Mr. Happy Stacker. So what we're looking at here is one of these Commander Series rounds that I got has a bunch of little micro scratches all over the polished or reverse proof, as it would be, area. So all of the bust that's polished, there's all these little micro scratches, and that's what we're looking to see if it's just on the capsule or the coin. But it looked like it was on the coin. And here comes the true.
It looks a little better out of the capsule, man, right away.
It does look a lot better out of the capsule.
No,
Yeah,
that looks much better. Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly the capsule.
All right. Yeah, that looks pretty clean, bro.
Yeah, it was the capsule.
All right, quick, put the capsule back on and get it covered. Although that is a nice moment to absorb that. See, this is what I mean, like what's going on right there through his cheeks, I think is a great example of that motion of light that they're doing a really good job capturing.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice coin and a really nice stamp, and it's nice. It's just don't ship the capsules one on top of the other because it'll make the person think like we were thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just need another capsule now.
Well, that was a good investigation.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of theories to think about now in the future.
Yeah, look at how bad it looks now. Like,
oh yeah, that looks freaking terrible, dude.
So, but it's good that it was just the capsule. It's like, it's ridiculous that they shipped it like that. Like I said right off the back, even before I got into the bubble wrap, I was like, oh no, this is not good, because they were one on top of the other.
Yeah, you knew it.
Yeah, it is a nice looking coin, Mr. Happy. Yeah, and I actually quite like this Washington round. Like I like the coin as far as the series goes. It's another nice one to add to the edition.
Yeah.
I should have looked at the back while I had it out the capsule, but it looks clean. All right, so I got a request just a capsule, I guess.
All right. Well, at least it's clear, man. That's the most important part.
Right? T-Bird Stacking, welcome in, my friend. How you doing? Good to see you.
Yo, T-Bird.
So we just had a little investigation into the Washington 5-ounce round. One looks, well, I'll show you. This one looks all scratched up, but it happened to just be the capsule. They shipped capsule on top of capsule with no protection in between, and got all these little micro scratches all over it, so I was worried it was on the coin, but it was just the capsule, thank goodness.
Yeah, amazing how that capsule translated that look onto it.
Yes. All right, so that one needs a capsule. Yeah, Merry Christmas back there, T-Bird. All right, let's see here. Where does this go? Let's get ready to add it to the merry-go-round of commanders.
Are they in a row right now?
Yeah, they're in order as they were released. So, but I have 6, and that's one of the things that made me decide I wanted to do the Commander series. Is I have 8 on the outside. I have 2 available places in the center here, which gives us 10, and that was their original amount they said they were going to do. I'm like, well, that'd fill up my turntable perfectly, so that's what got me stacking these, and to keep stacking. It was a good way to give myself an excuse to do so.
I'm doing good, T-Bird. Thanks for asking. How are you? Well, can we talk about it now, B? Can we talk about it, the premiums? Is this a good time? Can we talk about it now?
You bet. Jump in.
All right. So what I was reflecting on earlier, and we had talked about this a little bit too, is
this is number 1. Sorry, hold on. 1, 2, 3. Then we got a hole here, which was Tuli's second heart pour. Then we've got 3 is Cortez, 4 is Grant. And actually, this is 6. I got my counting wrong. 6 is Charlemagne. So I'm gonna move the row. I'm gonna remove the heart, Tuli's heart, and slide these 3 over next to Caesar here. And then I'll have 1 open spot remaining for their next, and then that will complete the full circle, only leaving 2 for the top. Okay, sorry, Spaceman, to continue on. Didn't mean to interrupt, but I needed to go through that.
No, man, it's a really great collection. That's a perfect round table for them, too.
Yeah, that's kind of cool how they fit perfectly, hopefully.
Yeah, it'll work. You'll make it work. You might have to, like, turn them at a slight angle or something eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
But go on with the premiums.
Oh, yeah, the point I was making. Realizing, watching silver just rip lately, I was realizing, man, I should have just gone the extra mile and bought all the premiums. I mean, I moaned and complained about and hawked over so many different premiums, and at the end of the day, man, we're talking about like $5 to $10, and those, like, I could have bought them. Those $5 to $10 would have been absorbed, and then I still would have been doubled. And like, I'm going, well, what really stops that attitude from here on out? Like, what is it about the premiums, right? Which, my conclusion, my current standing conclusion about premiums is look, it's just the extra buck you paid to get access to that particular limited round. End of story. That premium, if you want your hands on it before everybody else gets their dirty little grubs on it, well, then you're going to pay a few more bucks. End of story, right? And once you've done that, though, there's nothing saying you have to, like, worry about maintaining your premiums or worry about keeping them and rolling them over. And you don't have to worry about sticky premiums. The premiums are just to get your dirty little grubs on it. Now, if you want to attach premiums on it later, sure. But if you don't, who cares? Because you still got the value in the metal and a competitive edge when it comes time to sell. So, like, the big worry about premiums, I think this kind of like just makes me reflect, like, I really shouldn't have worried about so much and quibbled so much over a few dollars. Like, there's still a justification for paying a little bit of premium, and that's having a competitive edge when it comes time to sell. Because you don't have to attach a premium. It's not like you have to get that premium back. It already came back, But now you could release it at spot. And I guarantee you, if you're releasing one of those commanders at spot, or I got to choose between 5 buffaloes or that commander, either one's at spot, I'm picking the commander, which means B would get the sell, hypothetically, And so that's kind of like my resting standing point right now with the premiums.
Yeah, well, if, like we were talking earlier, I'm going to wait till that comes back around. If we were about 50 years ago and we had a level playing field, that's where the premiums really come into effect, or where you might spend a little bit of time looking around to see if you can find a better premium. And it's fine to do that now still, but like if it was 50 years ago, the premium would have more of an effect because you're not on a steady incline or the fiat on a steady decline, making the premium basically of none effect, which is what I wish most people would understand nowadays. We are no longer on the playing field of 50 years ago. The destruction of our fiat dollar was not in play then as it is now. And so, yeah, quarreling over a premium of $1 or $1.50 or, ooh, that's 75-cent higher premium here on this than that is of none effect in today's age. Now, if you can find it, $1 cheaper at a different place, sure, buy it there. I'm not saying that, but to not buy a coin, or especially a 5-ounce coin, because it's a dollar extra premium than you're used to, is ridiculous. Because with the playing field of the devaluing fiat, you're going to make that premium back in possibly a day or two, the way things have been going. So and it's again not going to be a playing field like we had 50 years ago. I think there's a lot of people even now thinking, oh, like I seen people the other day in the chat of some live streams laughing and kind of mocking at anyone that was saying, oh, people are going to go out and buy today. I hear people talking about buying today. Don't they realize it's at an all-time high? What fools. Well, I highly disagree with that. It's at an all-time high, but we're just getting started on its way up. And it's yes, silver, I believe, is becoming more valuable for a few reasons, and therefore silver is actually going up a little bit, but it's mostly the devaluing of the fiat that is going down. So the little bit of premium nowadays difference on some of these coins is really not something to pay attention to when you understand the overall direction of things now.
Yeah,
Jake says he heard that before from idiots as well.
Like in the long run, yeah, you can, like if you're buying nothing but buffaloes, yeah, in the long run, you're going to have more silver than the next guy. But again, like when presented with the situation, like you got one buyer and 2 of you approach his desk, and the guy's only going to buy at spot anyways, and you want to sell it, well, the guy's got an option. Does he want to buy your nice commander, or does he want to buy the spot buffaloes?
Mm-hmm.
And, it seems to me like the commander would be a little higher value.
I might have to shut this off and do some adjusting. got to make a little bit more room. It's a little tight here, so got to do some easel adjusting. Yeah, no, indeed, Jakes. I know where you're coming from on that. So yeah, really the whole key right now, in my opinion, is the important thing to understand or find or keep your eye on is the understanding of the bigger picture. And is, that's really what you need to understand. Otherwise, you're going to get caught up in these debates on, you're at an all-time high. All-time high is what happens at all-time highs. It starts coming down, well, in normal situations, yeah, I would agree with that. But again, this is not a normal situation. We have a global reserve currency that is devaluing rapidly, and therefore the suppressed silver that they've been suppressing for such a long time, so as to make the dollar look stronger, so as to keep people out of silver, is now finally coming to an end. And so you're going to see fast moves in the silver and gold, which we've been seeing. And again, I've been saying triple digits, before you even hesitate. Like, I'm not looking to sell any of my stack, even to pay off bills, until it hits triple digits. And that's just probably to pay off a couple bills. I'm really not selling out on this one, probably at least till I see major changes on the whole playing field, on the big picture. Something, either we have to come up with a new monetary system where we're no longer printing in the same way to take care of our devaluing dollar. The credit system itself is rigged in a way, or set up in a way, where you take a loan out, there's not actually enough dollars to repay that loan. And that's the way it is just constantly. And so it is a pyramid scheme, just on a huge proportion. So you constantly have to keep printing. And, now that we're at such a point where we have to keep printing and inflation is getting carried away, this is where you start getting into that terminology of hyperinflation. We're not quite probably to hyperinflation, but I think we're getting near. We're starting to see some of those effects that you would see in hyperinflation. Like it's monthly price changes in things, not just yearly, where you notice a little bit of increase. No, you're noticing monthly increases. And on stocking shelves, they're actually coming up with new ways of putting up pricing. I've seen some stores going to digital price tags so they can easily switch, from the front of the store. Just, everything increases by X percentage, or certain things are easy to adjust. They're just taking price tags down on some things, so you don't know till you bring it up front. So we're getting some major differences in our priced goods. So yeah, the premiums are just not something to focus in on like they were 50 years ago. So
Well, and that is the natural response in the market, though, isn't it? Like when your currency is so deflationary or inflationary or whichever direction you want to go for it, but unstable, that that commodities really are always going to be the dictator, in this, and that like you pointed out, like prices are literally changing before you can even get to the register. Like that's a problem, right? But you know what didn't change was the value of the coffee on the way. The value of the coffee stayed the same. It's just it's taken a lot more dollars to catch up because over at corporate, they just made a huge coffee order. It costed them a lot, so they want to hurry up and get that price onto the shelf.
Right. Welcome in, Actors O'Reilly.
So they update that dang digital tag, through some corporate ping, and the price has changed before you get to there. What are you going to do? Walk them back to the shelf you got it from? But that's what we're seeing in our metals right now.
And I just witnessed that just the other day in the store. Someone had brought up some product and they were arguing, well, that's not what it said on the shelf. And they're like, well, we had to make the adjustments. And so they're like, okay, well, I don't want it now. And, and so, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the market just trying to correct naturally. That's just the market correcting naturally. And they're responding like way quicker. I think it's kind of rude the way they're doing it. Maybe like wait till the store closes for the day at least, shock us in the morning, but I'm just saying, like, look, it's going to correct one way or another. Either the government corrects the spending habits and the printing habits, or the market's going to have to correct. And guess what? It's always going to be the market correcting. And that's why you see in these third world countries, people getting paid in half days. They want paid every, half part of their day, every day. Yeah. And then they run to the store, spend it as quick as they can.
Yep.
But that's what we're experiencing now. Like we see it in bullion sites all the time. If you let it sit in that basket too long and it refreshes, it's going to be a higher price.
Yep.
It's the market correcting. We're not used to the speed.
No, exactly.
Forget how many people are out there and how much, look, the dollar still has enough power in it that when these hyper wealthy entities spend their money, spend their cash, it still carries enough power to really put a drain on resources, to put real drains on real resources. And it won't be that way forever, but they're going to swing their power while they got it. And this'll accelerate the commodity issue. It'll accelerate it. There will come a point where these guys see it. They're like, all right, we can't sustain this way. Spend it while it's worth something, which is kind of how I live personally. Spend it while it's worth something. Buy something, get the good product, spend the extra money, get the good product, get the thing that's going to last you forever. Take as good care of it as you can, and stop spending money after that. Buy the stuff that lasts as long as you can, and stop spending. That's the only way I can live.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you run out of things to spend your money on, or your cash on, I should say. You run out of things to spend cash on that are meaningful. And when you find that happening, you need metal. Metal's the best option generally.
Yeah. And then a lot of preppers will say, short thought out thoughts like, oh, you can't eat your silver and gold. Well, yeah. So you first you buy as much, canned goods, you get a big container of water. You buy your water filters, you gravity fed or density fed or whatever you want to, however you want to view that. And so you build up a base of just your foods and your waters and sustainability. You get a garden going. But then once you have those bases covered, you can't just buy more food because you've already got as much food as you can go before it starts going bad, before you can eat it. So that's where you move into the metals. And so that, yeah, you don't want to just only buy metals and not have had any food stored up, because if things hit the fan and then, you don't have any food on your shelf, you're going to be immediately spending your gold and silver on food to eat. So it's much better to have a good store of food and water and a garden, and to sustain yourself that way, and then move into the metals and let the metals, carry their value up and up and up without you having to spend them right away, and you can eat your reserves of food. And to me, that's the better way of looking at things.
Right. You want to store value. That's, for as long as possible. You really want to be able to continue producing in your world. Like, that's really the best form of, preserving yourself, right? You want to be able to produce and put things into your life. Right. And so it's all about sustainability, because the less you're spending money on is the things that you can now start storing, right? If you're not eating the grain, then you can put it in a jar on the shelf, right?
Yes.
And so if you get to a point where you have all the grain you need, and all the grain that it'll take to sustain you, then yeah, now it's time. But if, like you were saying, if it does you no good to spend all that money ordering that one silver round, if you're going to have to spend it tomorrow, if you're going to have to run down to the pawn shop and sell it at, 80% of its value.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sustain yourself first. Look, that's not financial advice. Let's say that, right? But this is how I see it is, spend your cash while it's worth something. Get that paper out of your hand as fast as possible. Spend it on something that's worth something, but get your productive purchases out of the way, the ones that are going to help you produce something. Once you got those out of the way, once you can sustain and produce, now you're into savings. Now you're into preserving values. Now you're into your long shelf. But you really got to be able to eat, sleep, feed yourself, and be able to go out and produce the green paper that they want for the silver metal. So,
yep.
And if I don't have to sell the metal off, well, then by golly, that's a good thing. And the longer I can keep from selling it, that's even better. This was never meant, I don't think precious metals were ever meant to be something to just be rapidly swapped. I think it's an inherent responsibility that came with it. You didn't want to lose this. You didn't want to give it up for silliness.
Yeah, until they kind of reach their actual value, not their suppressed value, then yeah, you want to hold on to it to acquire that gain in value that is rising for the metals. However, obviously they have been money for thousands and thousands of years, basically all of humanity up until our lifetimes and our father's lifetimes. My granddad,
you couldn't replace it because you couldn't replace it. That's what made it valuable. It wasn't easy to replace, right?
Well, it was just real money for my grandfather. He experienced it as, he used it as money. And it wasn't till my father's generation that, he grew up on fiat. And of course I grew up on fiat. And so when you grow up on fiat, you don't really know to pay attention to the metals unless someone explains it to you. But once it gets back to its true value as money, and as now it's used so much in industry, it'll probably have a little bit higher value even than it did when it was money. But it's gonna get back to that equilibrium, and then you can just use it as money. You don't have, and that's a good point too that a lot of people talk about. Like, we do need to use it as money. You don't want to just not use it and only hold. I mean, it is supposed to circulate as money once it reaches that equilibrium point.
Yeah, it's to buy you something someday.
Right. Yeah, and that's all it is that it's a store of wealth. It's your preservation of your wealth until you need to dispense it for whatever goods or services that you need at the time. And then you have your full value that you've procured and carried with you throughout the time. Whereas if you're just holding fiat, you're losing all of your value over that time until when you go to use it, you're like, oh, it doesn't buy anything now. I had to work really hard to earn it, but now when I go to spend it, it's lost all its value. It's like the worst of both worlds there.
I've heard those examples people use, like, about how, like, you look at like houses and cars, and traditionally, how much gold did it take to buy a house I've heard that is close to the same amount it would take today, And so when you're considering that, and you start, like, when you look through that lens at it, it's every ounce of metal you buy today is like price capturing your home, today. It's like price capturing that home, that truck today, because in the future, when you're ready to buy that home or that truck with those metals, it'll be like you price captured it back then, a percentage of it.
Yes.
So, like, let's say you had enough to go buy a truck today, and instead you went out and bought silver or gold, right? And then sometime in the future, you decide, no, I'll buy the truck now, finally. It should carry you about the same.
Yes.
Is what I understand in this.
Yes.
So if that's true, and the USD is fluctuating, well, then USD is not where you want your value, now is it?
Right. Yep. No. Yeah, and I agree. Think differently. That's it. You don't really want to go into the expensive numismatics unless you're like a real expert on on a coin that's going up and gonna increase in value, and you're sure of that from whatever your history and your background is. But as a large part in now day and age, especially. And that's another distinction that I'm seeing between stackers is there's those that have been stacking for a long time because they're into numismatics and they just love the coins and know them and understand them. And that's fine and great. But we're kind of in this different era now where our fiat is greatly rapidly depreciating. And so the very important thing is not the numismatics. It's just getting actual weight of silver and gold. Get your weight up, as a lot of people will say. And so exactly, think differently. You want to get your base metals covered, your liquid metals covered. We talk a lot about that with like some of these other, some would refer exotic metals that are not as well known and maybe not as liquid as some of the other metals. You want to get your base metals covered so that then you can hold on to some of these other exotic metals. While you may get even more of a value increase in the unique exotic metal, but it may not be as liquid as your common silver, gold, platinum, those types of metals. And therefore you want a good base of your liquid metals so that you can easily carry your exotic metal to finally find that purchase to then get your gain in that, and your larger gain in that exotic metal.
Right. Rhodium's a great example of that, Jake. That was a good one to choose. Jake, I don't know if I told you the story, but I have a buddy that bought a bunch of rhodium back in the day, It was really only a couple of ounces at the end of the day, right? But he had bought it back in the day when everybody was hating on rhodium, whenever rhodium was like newer to the game, you know, because they hated the attributes of it. They're like, oh, it's a platinum group metal. It's already difficult to work with. It's difficult to find. It's difficult to refine and extract, and it's difficult to produce anything out of it. What will we use it for? And it was hated, you know? And so there was a long period, you know, he bought it when it was hated because he understood the principles of it, right? But there was a long stretch that he had to still operate with other metals. Like he mostly operated through platinum, right? Platinum and gold is how he kind of operated. But when the rhodium finally came to its marking point, he was able to buy a house with a few ounces. A house, dude, and have some money left over. The few ounces, man. That's all it took. And dude, and I'll tell you, when he bought it, that was not something you would have bought a house with. I mean, you would have been lucky to find a used pickup when he bought it, you know, with that same amount of rhodium. But to sustain, he had to still sustain his values by other means, you know. These what I like to, I don't call them exotics per se. I like to call them alternative investment metals, you know, because that's exactly what they are. They're an alternative investment or a supplemental investment, even, if you will, to your primary investment, which should be something more communicable like gold and silver, you know. But when gold and silver is like, can we talk liquidity for a second, B, about like what a way we've twisted up the usage of liquidity is? I mean, like, we don't necessarily want liquidity, you know, like you don't look, too much liquidity means everybody has it. You don't want everybody to have it. If everybody had it, it'd be worthless, you know, like, and as you progress through your metals, like as you go from copper to silver to gold to platinum to rhodium, you know, you have stages of liquidity and different types of liquidity, and you have different exits in your liquidity than you would other guys. You know, you don't take your copper to your platinum guy, and you don't take your platinum to your silver guy, and, you know, and I don't know, mix it up how you will, but, you know, the point is like each one is an individual metal. You know, there's a tool for every job and a job for every tool. But we really do like to emphasize like a primary stack of, you know, silver and gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're saying. I think you're more saying,
yeah, I was hitting a couple.
There's different values in the metals. I mean, what make gold and silver money in the first place, in my opinion, is that they are the most liquid commodity worldwide. Everyone accepts them. And now, to your point, Space Miner, you know, you don't want it to be so prevalent that there's no value to it. It's a rare enough commodity that you're happy to have any that you have. So sure, there's an element of rarity to it, but what makes silver and gold a natural money for thousands and thousands of years is that it is so.
Well, silver and gold are abundant enough to be used as a monetary metal.
That's it, and that's why they are a monetary metal, is because they're so liquid anywhere you go. Liquidity just means, you know, it's easy to sell. People will always want to buy it, and so that's why, you know, it's good to have that liquidity in your metals that everyone knows, like your gold and your silver, because if you need a value quickly, you know, you can move your silver and gold because pretty much everyone understands it, and anywhere in the world there will be a demand for it.
That was the point I wanted to get to, B. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the point is that silver and gold are not always liquid. Okay, there's a lot of people in some areas that don't have anywhere to sell their silver and gold for 100 plus miles or more, quite easily, or they have no fair deals, at least, where you got guys trying to give you 60% a spot, like that's just thievery, and these guys won't do it, so their liquidity has been reduced. So they call up the bullions and then they get these guys to send them a quote. You get a quote the next day, and then you send in your metals, and then they inspect them, and then they send you a check, and then even then, some of these bullions are even post-dating their checks beyond that, and so what I was liking to emphasize here is that gold and silver are not always fully liquid. It's not like you can run down to the gas station and pay for your fuel with it, So when we're arguing like these liquidity concerns, like you can't sell gold to everybody. Not everybody's. Some people still think gold and silver is a scam. They call them pet rocks,
Yeah, but I would say that
and the gold's when gold spikes, not everybody's taking it either. Yeah,
I would differ. I mean, I think it's just coming down to terminology, but I would say that's more of an ignorance of the people, because the very reason that gold and silver are money throughout all of history is because of the worldwide liquidity. In America, you have some people who are very unsmart, and they don't understand that silver would be something that you would want to hold over fiat. Now, I think that's going to be short-lived. I think that we're experiencing that right now, but I think you give it a few more years and you'll find that everyone will be accepting your gold and silver, and you will be able to sell it at your local store. In fact, they won't even want fiat at that point. So I think that's something that we're experiencing right now. But again, for me, that's because we've wandered into this era of living in a false reality. We're people in America are used to the paper fiat dollar, that it actually has lost 99% of its value. And since that's all they know that they take to the store and buy things with, that's why they wouldn't accept gold or so. It's because they simply don't know about it. It's an ignorance problem. But there's always a coin store. Like you say, you might live in the country 100 miles away from a coin store or something, and it's not just here in America is the thing. America is the least in understanding in the value of gold and silver. And even in America, within 100 miles, you're going to have coin stores where gold and silver will always be liquid. So I would chalk that up to ignorance instead of, non-liquidity. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just affirming your point that I do think we're going to come to a time where we do see like more liquidity directly in our markets, right? But just to be a bit of a contrarian here, look, it's not necessarily my position so much as it is a position, is that like anecdotally, there's a local guy down here, just recently he had a guy try to come and offload a hoard on him. And the guy said, look, I'm only so liquid myself, like in cash terms, right? And if I buy up all this from you, then I won't be able to buy up anything from my community. You know, like meaning like I won't be able to help my community because the guy offers some fair prices, right? Sure. And so he only bought a portion of the guy's hoard, you know, because he's only so liquid in cash. At the end of the day, if he had taken that, he wouldn't have been able to buy anything else for a month or two, possibly, you know?
Sure. Yeah. But that's coming down to someone's pocket deepness, like I can't buy any more than this 5-ounce round than I just bought. So if you brought me, 5-10 ounces, I wouldn't be able to buy it. Well, I could probably buy that much, but like, you brought me a stack, I wouldn't be able to buy it either. But that's just because I don't have enough, fiat to.
Now, can you translate an ounce? Probably. You could probably get rid of an ounce fairly easy. You
can get rid of all of your hoard. You just have to find the right dealer. Like,
now,
even if you brought a big hoard to me, I would just simply call Ian, and if Ian couldn't cover it, he would call his wholesaler. Like, you go far enough up the line, there's people that will happily buy all of your hoard, including nowadays central banks. So, like,
but when the people are talking liquidity, they're not thinking about it necessarily the same way a lot of us stackers are. See, we think liquidity, and we just mean, is there a market? But they think speed of transaction as well. So when you hear some of these liquidity arguments from the public, a lot of these arguments are resting on like one of the arguments I make as an example is like, how do you do trade across the nation? And this is kind of one of their challenges to the quote unquote liquidity. They don't mean it in the same way we do.
Yeah, but there's another word for that, Space Miner. That's called, somebody help me out in chat. What's the word for how fast a currency is turning over? Someone else will know. I just slipped my mind. Well, I can even look it up. But
their ability to transact with the currency at their disposal, right? So if silver is serving as a currency and they want to transact on eBay with some dude in Florida, they've got a liquidity issue or a liquidity over time, and in their mind, that delay in time becomes the liquidity issue. How do you transact or do daily business, or how do you keep up with the speed of business if you're snail mailing a bunch of fucking silver across the nation? They would call this a liquidity issue. Now, do I call it a liquidity issue? No, I call it a transactional issue. But,
there's a whole, what's it called?
I'm just raising the storm of the argument. Do I think we have any liquidity issue in silver? No. Do I think we have a liquidity issue in rhodium? No. Do I think we have a liquidity issue in crystallized osmium? No. But depending on how far down that scale you're willing to lean towards the ignorant public, the closer you get to the ignorant public, and now ignorant's not an insulting word, it just means they don't know. The closer you get to the ignorance of the public, it's going to kind of distort the meaning of the word, and so I think we as a silver community and a precious metals community need to be prepared for these defenses and learn to recognize them too. That this quote unquote liquidity is going to be used in all manner of forms.
Yeah, I'll have to.
What is? I'd still love to know what the correct verbiage is for this.
Yeah, I'll find it here.
Velocity of money, JM. Are you being
velocity? But there's an actual term for it. Not just thank you, JM. It's not just velocity. There's an actual another term for it.
Hi, JM. By the way, and hi, Knackers, if you're still in here, and saying hi to the people who came in earlier. But get back to the point though. is like I do think we are leaning back to commodity based transactions. You know what I mean? We're already seeing it internationally. You know, you look at the BRICS. You know, what they'll settle in oats until there's a difference that can't be met in oats, and then we'll transact on gold, right? And it's just the natural reaction. It's just the market naturally correcting again, right? Like at some point, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You need your oats, and you need your oats, and you need some way to pay for them, right? And so here we are in America, and we're moving into this, this commodity trade market. You know, how do we prepare for this? Like, how do we respond to? You know, do we just literally plan on snail mailing silver around?
No, I mean, there's already plenty of apps like, Glint. You can sell down to the microgram. You just swipe your card, same as using a credit card. And there's actually several of these apps, including crypto tokens, that are all doing the same thing. And in fact, I think that in crypto world, cryptos are on their way out and losing their value as we speak, because they're just it's the transfer mechanism where the value is, right? And so once you attach something to that track, that moving track, the ability to move something from point A to point B quickly, that is where the value is. Then you attach a real commodity to that crypto track, and now you have something worth of value, and you can sell it down to the nanogram, so you don't have to send something snail mail. However, I even say, like with snail mail, I've been mailing checks lately more often, because it's actually almost faster to move checks than it is, and way, way cheaper and more convenient and precise, and you don't get extra charges for it than if you're doing a wire, or you're trying to use some of these cash apps that you can't transfer your whole value, so you have to break the payments up. And I think things like Glint, things like Load from David Morgan, these types of apps, or
so you're all right with like tokenization as long as there's like tangible settlement at the end of the day.
Only for monies. And that's if you're settling out in real metals every so often, and that's where these Glint comes into play, or Load, or these
commodity something.
Yeah, these commodity backed tokens like that. I'm okay with that. I am very much against doing it with all types of different things. I don't want to see tokenized salad and tokenized onions and tokenized beets, and I don't want to see all that. I think that's very problematic and dangerous. But as far as tokenizing, metals for speed of payment, I can see that as being quite useful.
I mean, we're going to need it, like some kind of, tangible settlement at the end of the day. And so I do see some of these services that are popping up. I think they are responding to that, but
yeah,
there's a big fear in the market, again, kind of through ignorance of tokenization. Like you're right, tokenization is dangerous if we just start applying it to anything, especially things that can't be accounted for, like onions,
Yeah, I think they're going to try to tokenize everything, but I hope they fail on that. Like, I think it's a very bad idea. But I think tokenizing money is, okay. As long as there's true audits done and you actually do settle out in the real metals at the end of the quarter or the year or whatever it may be.
Yeah. I mean, if 100% can settle out at the end of the day, if everybody can settle out same day at the same time,
yeah,
then there's no problem with it, then I don't see a problem with it outside of like, hey, you know, if you don't hold it, you don't own it, you know, like there's always that. But, you know, I guess really you can't get, you know, nobody owns it but the post office if you're mailing it, right? You know, so you got to trust that they're going to give that up, you know, so I suppose, you know, tokenized settlement systems really does seem to be like a natural response to this, doesn't it?
You know, yes, yeah, I think so. You're right, Susan. But I think, you know, it can really even be done without the tokenization, because you can send, if you think about it. In fact, I just did this not long ago. You can drop a couple ounces of gold into an envelope, ship it across a couple states in a couple days, and you've moved $10,000. You know, and the credit in between people can be, you know, just as valid, right? Like,
and that's possibly faster than the bank.
Exactly. You go to, I've done wires that cost nearly $100, and it'll be, oh, sorry, it was done on a holiday weekend, and like 4 or 5 days later, you finally receive it, you know, and it's like, it would have been much faster just to ship the actual metal. So, you know, I think it'll be somewhere. I think that, you know, they will be tokenized, and that'll be fine. Because when you're buying groceries, right, and you want to pay down to the exact penny, which we actually can't do today because we've gotten rid of our penny, so we're already starting to round up and down. But you know, it can be down to the penny or a fraction of a penny with these tokenized assets. So
yeah, that's gonna. Man, there's so much corruption coming up with that penny, dropping a tangible penny out of the market.
I'll be right back.
There's just not enough. I mean, there's plenty of pennies out there, but when they're absorbing them on the way, you know, we're already seeing it. I saw some guy ranting about Home Depot. You know, he wanted his penny. And they're like, well, we take it. We just round down. He's like, well, you better round up. You know, they ended up giving him a nickel. They didn't have any pennies. You know, just, you know, shut the guy up, I'm sure, but it doesn't matter. You know, like that's what's going to be, you know. Everywhere you go, be prepared. You know, are we going to have to start plotting our purchases to make sure they have to round up every time? That could be a good response, right? Like, make them round in the opposite direction, you know, where they're kind of forced to give it up somehow. I don't know. I'm sure we could work out a good protest against that, purchase protest. But we think of a few. How do you do a purchase protest against them, you know, like Home Depot jacking the penny, right? Like a guy's supposed to get a penny back. They say they don't have any pennies, so they're just going to keep the penny. The guy argues long enough with them. He finally gets a nickel back because they don't have any pennies. You know, like how do you protest that through your purchase? You know?
Well, yeah, I don't know. That might be tough because I think what the store does is they just round it up all of their instead of everything being $99 now, it'll be flat $20 instead of $19.99.
They'll just charge you whatever's close.
They're just going to charge you. They're going to charge you the extra 4 cents, yep, and just round it up.
You think that was part of the design of this? You know, to try to like a stimulus towards the.
No, I think it's actually a part of the. I mean, it's just an inevitability of the devaluation of fiat money. And soon, like Jake is saying, as Jake or JM here was saying, next up is nickel. Yeah, Jake is saying nickel is next on the chopping block, and it will be because, you know, just like it was costing them 4 cents to make the penny, or 3 or 4 cents to make the penny per penny. you know, it's the same way with the nickel. It's costing them like 7 cents for every nickel, and so that'll be next on it. You know, it's going to be everything. Like we went from a penny being copper when I was born, in like 80 and 82ish, and before we had copper pennies. And then it got too expensive for them to use that valuable metal copper, and they went to zinc. Well, just this year now, finally, zinc has become too expensive to use. So it's just showing that devaluation of our fiat, and there's no way they can really get out of that except going to maybe plastic token money, you know, Chuck E. Cheese tokens, which is
right. Because we tend to dismiss the fact that our current standing fiat is nothing more than another commodity on the shelf. It really is nothing more than that. And in the sense that, like, they're supposed to be, like, the whole design of this is that they make the money off the seigniorage, right? So it's supposed to be cheaper to produce than it operates at, right? So they make money off of this.
Yeah.
You know, every time you accept, you trade your work value for that penny, they made a little bit of money on that penny. They make a little bit of money on that nickel, and so on, right?
Yep.
So they're supposed to be. So when they start losing that seigniorage, you know, yeah, you're right. They got to step it up to the next thing until they're, because if you ain't making money on your product, you got to pull the product from the shelf. It really is that simple. Yeah. And this is a product. It's not real money. It's not even the same Fed note that they originally issued to break us from the standard. Like, it's not it's a completely different note than the gold notes, you know, than gold and silver notes, you know. It's not even the same thing anymore. Like, they just phased us in and then phased us out, you know, in the story. Oh yeah, you got it all stacked there, huh?
Got some silverback, some gold notes. This, let me back out a bit.
Kids that can't count and change it back. Dude, I load them with all sorts of stupid stuff. Different types of dollar coins, $50, you know. Oh
yeah, so this is the original,
man.
$20 in gold. So this would have been back in the day the same as holding on to a double eagle or what have you. And it was actually an orange back. I think that's kind of cool. It was actually orange instead of green on the back. 20 gold certificate, 20. So what else does it say on here? $20 gold certificate. On the front we've got 1882, Act of 1882, $20 in gold coin payable to the bearer on demand. So you could take this bad boy in and drop it on the counter, and they'd give you a St. Gaudens eagle. And you could take this in, and it was $1 in silver payable to the bearer on demand.
Yeah.
And it had a little bit different of a back as well. But yeah, we've came a long way from there.
Yeah. You know, thing different. You guys are already using polymer, aren't you guys? Yeah, he was saying, can we really trust the tokenization of gold and silver money? Banks will rehypothecate it, you know, and he's kind of right. Like, we already see it in some of these repositories, like where they're auditing these and finding literal frickin' IOUs in the drawers and in the securities, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
That's why I'm saying, it's just as fast to actually drop. You can drop 2 gold coins into an envelope, mail it to whatever state here in the States in a couple days, 2-3 days, and you're transferring basically 10 grand, and it weighs almost 2 ounces, not very much, and you've transferred $10,000 of actual money that you're holding in your hand, no questions asked, and you can insure that mail. You can, so it's not like people make so much. Oh, and you'd have to carry so much weight around it. Oh, really? Where's my 10th ounce gold? It's a tiny piece, a 10th ounce. That's $500 right now.
Yeah, that'll pay a bill or two, huh?
That's lighter than carrying my wallet full of plastic credit cards around. Just one little gold coin. That'll buy more groceries than I can, that's one load of groceries nowadays, full cart.
Well, shit. 5 $100 bills would weigh more than that 10th ounce.
I mean, close to, in your wallet it would. If you put a wallet and some plastic credit cards and your ID, and that weighs more than that 10th ounce. So what this idea that
$100 bill, like a gram, 1.1 or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it would be Jake. Yeah, I mean, that's just another confusing misunderstanding and an excuse that's not true. Like, you take the like, I think Vince just got a what am I thinking? It's a gold dos pesos. That's a tiny, in fact, I have one, a little tiny gold dos peso. And that thing is small, but it actually holds quite a bit of value. I think Jake just got one for Vince. But so that's a total, it's untrue. You can buy a lot of value with that little dos peso. And so it's just they make up excuses that aren't really true when it bears out in reality. And we're a long ways from actually reaching its full value potential. And as all that fiat finds its way back into the metals, the value potential of these metals is going to get pretty high. So you can buy a lot with just a little bit of weight in your pocket. So
high value density.
Exactly, high value density. And like, Space Miner, with crystallized osmium, we can carry this little tiny example with the different sparkle grades in it is like $2,500. So like, you can take a big disc of osmium and buy a house with it. And I could buy probably 2 of the houses that I live in with one big disc of crystallized osmium, and you can take that and fly to whatever country you want to, get out and buy a house on the spot with just one thin round disc that people would think, you got a nice piece of jewelry on, and it would buy a house for you. And the nice thing about the osmium is you can't just steal that off of someone's neck and resell it because of the built-in fingerprint. So there's actually very high-tech, high-value, lightweight transfer mechanisms of much more significance and sophistication than people would think or understand. So it's just, again, it's a knowledge problem. It's an idiot problem that we have. So, hey, Ark, welcome in. Good to see you. A 100-ounce Troy silver bar is a self-defense tool, as well as 6,700-ish purchasing power. Yes, indeed.
That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be a menace, wouldn't it?
Polymer notes here in Australia for more than 20 years. Australian notes are amongst the most secure in the world. Really? Interesting. So Think Differently is saying they crossed the triple digits in Australia for value in silver. So it looks like they're there already to the triple digits. I think we're soon to be there ourselves.
Oh man, what's that going to look like in some of these other currencies? It's going to be pretty wild, man. You know, I wonder if I haven't really gone currency hunting in a while, you know, to see what's going on out there, but you know, I imagine they're in a similar predicament as us right now in a lot of ways. You know, we're kind of run on the same systems. You know, it would be a natural consequence.
Platinum is getting up to 2,000, isn't it? I noticed that too today. I was like, whoa, went from 17 to $2,000 in a couple days or something. Let me pull up
Look, I'm voting that platinum's got a long way to go. You know, that this is just kicking back to life again. You know, platinum and all your platinum group metals, like, as we start condensing values, you know, nations and industries start panicking and start condensing their values and securing their values, you know, platinum's going to have a lot of favor to a lot of industries, you know, when they start worrying about where we're going to put our money and how do we prepare for our future, you know, a lot of these are going to be platinum group metals. And aside from that, some of these alternative metals are really going to have their day. We're already seeing it right now. It's a perfect timing here to have Arcs go in the chat. This is Ian. And, you know, he was speaking on rhenium just not too long ago and invested in it and was telling people. And then all of a sudden, who was it came in and bought up a smack load of rhenium, put a real true dent in the market, you know, Rolls-Royce or somebody to that effect. Help me out.
Well, yeah, I suppose I think Ian said Rolls-Royce swallows 80% of the industry, the yearly production, just in their jet engine.
Yeah, thank you.
But also the U.S. government has just put out a large order for rhenium as well, and said we would love to have that delivered along without a price increase, which I find quite funny.
Look, a lot of these metals that are really going to make their shine are going to be very naturally accelerated metals. Like, look, there are certain natural occurrences, what we call natural occurrence of a metal in general. You know, it's rarity, you know, so there's only so much of certain types of metals anyways. So when you start dealing with like rhenium, you know, what is it, like 40 tons a year or possibly less produced, you know, and even less of that entering the recycling market. And they need a certain percentage of fresh rhenium dedicated just to refresh the recycled rhenium. And so you get a huge portion of that sucked up right there. And you could have a natural resource, you know, an annual production of a resource. I mean, you could have it bought up in no time, 0 shelf life. And we see that with a lot of different elements. There's a lot of elements out there right now with like 0 shelf life. We'll consume them as fast as they're produced. Well, there's other metals that are heading this way right now. You know, rhenium is about to have 0 shelf life if it already isn't bought up for the next few years, you know.
Oil refineries consume rhenium, he says.
Yeah, and a host of platinum group metals, you know. And this depends on which country you're talking about. Like, they're going to consume them differently. Like, Russia is a huge consumer of ruthenium, right? You know, because it works better in the colder environments, and they don't really care as much about the byproducts that are produced in the warmer environments, you know, or some of the other byproducts. They just really don't care about their people too much. But, you know, it performs better in colder environments. So Russia will consume a whole bunch of ruthenium, but you still get it from the platinums, right? You know? But the rhenium is extracted along, oh man, what was it? What was its primary ore? Nickel or cobalt? Shoot, what was it? The point is that these are also companion metals too. But point is that look, as these currencies are becoming of less and less value, it's becoming more and more critical for us to spend our cash while it's worth something. And don't think our governments don't recognize this and our militaries don't recognize this. Like across the world, you know, everybody's going to be scrambling for real tangible resources that aren't going to decrease in value. In fact, they're just going to increase in demand, you know? And so, yeah, molybdenum for sure, molybdenum. That's and in fact,
For sure, what?
Molybdenum.
How do you say that again?
Molybdenum. Yeah, that was a tough one, man. You got to
Yeah,
practice.
it is. I'm not even going to try.
Go for a B. No, just kidding. But yeah, in fact, I was listening to an interview with the CIO of one of the major projects up there in Canada right now, or BC region. And anyways, molybdenum was one of their targets, and although there's a pretty decent amount naturally occurring, our access to those is a different story entirely, you know, because like you still got to be friends with the people that make all this stuff across the world, right? And if you're not friends with them, then you're cut off from the resource. What do I say all the time? If your buddy the dealer ain't your buddy anymore, do you still think you're getting a deal from your dealer? No. You know? And so we have to secure a lot of these resources for ourselves. And so there is a lot of value in a localized resource. And so they're putting a lot of project money into getting this, you know, but for us to secure it for ourselves, we're still years and years out. And so that's going to require us purchasing from internationally. And as long as it's a sharp market, I'll just call it a sharp market right now, because it's kind of like a dangerous market right there. People towing a lot of lines with each other. It's a little bit more expensive than it used to be. And it's only going to get worse, you know, especially as shipping costs increase, you know, because we're not the only ones whose dollar is failing.
No, that's kind of a universal problem that we're having. So it's definite negative on society worldwide, but a very positive thing for the value of the metals and just about all commodities.
Right. Ian's saying 20-year commodity bull market. And I'm with Ian on this. And I think we're really at the awakening stages of this, where we're, in a lot of cases, we're still in exploration stages. Like when you want to talk investment sense, a lot of these are still in exploration. Like, you know, like how vast is this resource? All right, we found it. Now, how vast is it? You know, where's our best target dig? You know, and they want to figure this out before they go paying a crap ton of money in the production of it. So we have to consume it, which, yes, is going to make it a bull market as we're all scrambling for resources. It can't be avoided. We're looking for huge corrections on a lot of these base metals. We're looking for huge corrections on a lot of these like ultra critical technology metals, you know, and a lot of these support and catalyst metals, and a lot of these like thermal metals like rhenium, as an example. It's 80% of a market being consumed by one client. Dude, talk about like investment assurity.
Yeah.
You know, like, and how many more are these? I'll tell you, there's a whole host of them. our recent 2025 list of critical metals, dude, we've got like 50 different metals on the list now. Critical. Like 50 different, dude, that's almost our entire, transitionary period block of metals. That's wild to think. Like, they're almost all critical to us now.
Yep, and just a lack of understanding, and plus the suppression in gold and silver has kept people from looking at all these other metals that are much smaller in volume and byproducts and are going to be harder to focus in on to get more of, and that's why I see a lot of potential for large value gain in some of these metals that people don't know about. So,
a good friend of mine told me the other day, like there's going to be a lot of good opportunities coming, but it's going to be important to focus right now and make the most out of, an opportunity. Like focus your resources. Get your base metals down, like we always say, right? Get your silver and gold in line, get your house in line. And when these are in line, take it. You can gain significant action off of some of these other metals, and there's some good ones to point at right now that we have access to. So,
yeah. And so Ian is saying, check out the platinum silver ratio. And before we get to the platinum silver ratio, I just want to point out here where it says year high of 105 ratio in the gold to silver ratio. And that was back a few months ago when I asked Ian, should someone swap out their gold for silver? And he said, yeah, now would be a good time to do so. And now we went from 105 to today we're at 65.62. So quite an increase in just a few months right there on that call. And now let's see if I can find a ratio chart for platinum. I don't know if it's going to give me the actual ratio here.
Maybe I'm stubborn and maybe I'm a little bit of a simpleton. Okay. But
I'll back you on that.
Yeah, thank you. To me, it's okay to be a caveman sometimes,
I'm joking, man.
Even a caveman knows when to get out of the rain, right? Well, my point I was going to have here is like, you're looking at these corrections coming, and a lot of these come down to, like, through my lens, they're really simple. Like, you have natural occurrence of the element, like what's available to even grab, and then you have the industrial production of it, or the industrial occurrence, like how much of it were they able to actually pull out of this natural reserve, right? How much were they able to pull out and put in our hands? Okay. We're not even talking about necessarily about like bullions and all that. We're all just going to lump in together for a second. But when you start looking at those and you're looking at this platinum ratio, like hypothetically, if you were looking at just those, I mean, you would expect to see platinum overtake gold in the ratio, and where you're going to start seeing how much gold you're going to have to give up to get a piece of platinum. I mean, this is where those ratios would lend the mind to go. Now, are there other factors at hand? Yeah, sure. And that's what kind of keeps this down and suppressed at the moment. But I think we should and kind of need to expect much larger corrections than this with platinum. It's a really important metal. There's only so much of it. It's extremely difficult to to refine and extract and form and get into your hands. And there's a reason, you know, it comes with premiums and we're just lucky it's at such a low price right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, rhodium shows the potential. I think rhodium was kind of reflects the potential of just plain old platinum, you know. When rhodium's necessary, look what happens with it, you know. When we need it, by golly, we need it, and we'll pay whatever it takes to get it. And there are just some metals that are like that just really can't be replaced at the end of the day. You know, palladium right there on the list. Palladium's a great technology shot, you know. Great catalyst shot.
Yeah. I was thinking to buy palladium and platinum when it was under $1,000, both of them, and they both got there, and they're both correcting pretty fairly quickly.
Yeah, platinum palladium, you know, I think is a great combo here in the Western world. If you start wanting to like translate with the Eastern world, you're probably going to want to lean towards like ruthenium platinum, you know, but either way, they're still good purchases no matter where you go. We should check it.
I didn't know palladium was half the density of platinum. That's interesting. Goes twice as far as a catalyst. Interesting.
You know, there's a lot to know about palladium. Palladium's fascinating. Like, it does a lot. It is like a super catalyst. It does a really super hyper job. Does a great job in our emissions. If we want clean air and we care about clean air and stuff, palladium's pretty necessary, and it does a lot of like unique chemistry works, you know, like a lot of different catalysts work in chemistry too. So when we're talking about like chemical catalysts, when they're making unique chemicals, palladium's used a lot. Oh man, palladium's a fun one. I need to learn more about it, actually. I haven't spent too much time with it. Half the density of platinum, though. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was that's interesting. And therefore, like you're saying, you know, it goes twice as far as a catalyst. Probably just on that alone. If they both have the same ability, then yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and hydrogen's a really tough one to store. Like, that's one of the worst ones to store. It'll just eat everything. You know, so yeah, which goes to show its catalytic capabilities, you know. Its ability to stay composed and maintain its structure, you know.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was hearing some people talk about, you know, well, they don't even consider the metals a investment. And they were talking about, well, what is a real investment? Well, a real investment should give you, you know, dividends or 4% on return on your investment is steady. But when you have inflation at like 8 to 15% and you're getting, you know, 4%, and you're considering that an investment, that's kind of a flawed thesis as well. So
yeah, when you're looking at competitive investments and, you know, and you want stability in the same run, you know, there's really not anything performing quite like precious metals right now, you know, especially silver. Silver's like, what's our difference in silver and gold annually right now? Like we pretty much
is, well, we'll just look right quick here. So silver, let's go on the year is 118%, and gold on the year is 63.
Can we take a look at platinum? Wow, 63 over. That's amazing. Twice as productive as gold.
Yep.
That's fantastic, dude. We've been calling it for a long time. I'm glad to see some voices out there vindicated.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. But yes, I agree. There was a lot of talk down on hating on silver and gotta be in gold and idiots in silver and it'll never go up again. And I'm glad I didn't listen to some of that personally.
You know,
so platinum
beyond bars. You know,
what's that?
I was just saying, some of these guys just don't see beyond bars or stock charts. You know, they really don't think past that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there's and that's what I've been saying, the big picture. If you're not seeing the big picture, then those people that, to me are not very, brilliant that are saying, silver is at an all-time high and you're still buying it. What a fool are you? Well, it just shows me you don't understand the big picture, which is going to play.
Well, I remember when they were saying that, when they were saying, we joke about it all the time, silver will never get to 25. It could never sustain that. It'll never hold. We blew through 25 and blew through 30 and 40 and 50 and now 60 and holy smacks.
Yeah, platinum's doing good too. We're at 107% on platinum, 108% right there. Palladium, we're at 77 on palladium. Palladium's actually beating gold on the year.
I think people are learning to catch on. I think they're catching on with palladium. It's only recently even started being bannered in broadcasts and stuff, when they're displaying all the daily index prices, and hell, platinum wasn't even always up there, Precious metals weren't even always up there. They did the silver and gold and they threw in some platinum and now they throw in palladium too, and
yeah,
they're just catching on. Like, again, I don't think people realize how early we kind of still are in a lot of ways.
That's it. That's what I've realized is that I was way early. We're way early. And for us to be in the depths that we are in some of these other metals, however you refer to them, whether they're, what did you like to call them?
Alternative investment metals.
Okay, alternative investment metals. As far and deep as we are into some of these other rare, unique, unheard of metals, I think we're at the head of the game there. I mean, obviously there's people in the mining industry that I'm sure pay more attention to it than I do, but a lot of just your average investor / buyer / commodity market viewer. I think we're looking into them a lot deeper than a lot of people.
Dude, there's a bunch of these that are they are absolutely primed, and I would say that a lot of them are contract suppressed, like just to wing one out there, like indium as an example, there's a decent amount of indium out there, but indium is competitively priced, it's competitive with silver, not lately, but it will be. But the point is like a lot of these metals, like we use abundantly, we act like it's much more abundant than it actually is. And we've been kind of like reaping the rewards of like large stockpiles and large reserves of a lot of metals, of these technology metals. Because only recently have we actually gained, you know, the production capabilities necessary to consume a lot of these metals? You know, we haven't always had the ability to consume these in mass. And now we're seeing this as a daily part of life. Like, I don't know, touch screen phones. You see what I'm saying? Like, right away, you're looking at indium and tantalum and probably some germanium and like a couple other things, you know, silver and gold as well. But it costs real metals to build these, you know, and you'll have 500% more tantalum in there than gold, you know, and as an example, but tantalum's not incredibly abundant. We're going to run out of reserves, and we're going to run out of trade capability. And then we're going to go, oh crap, how do we keep having touchscreen phones without the phone being $10,000? You know?
Yeah. And we got ARC saying no retail palladium at the wholesalers. Wow. He only has 11 ounces left. And then look at what has happened in rhenium since Ian has moved into rhenium. So yeah, some of these off rare metals are gonna have their day too.
Yeah, and look, shelf life does have an effect on your investment. If you buy the last of the shelf, well then, you know, guess who's making the prices? Whoever's holding it. That's the new price on the shelf, man. Whoever's holding it and whoever's willing to sell it, he gets to make the price now. You know, There's a lot of price action that can happen whenever the shelves are going empty. You know, it's not an actually terrible time to buy. Like, you know,
it's a great time to buy in metals right now. Even silver on the rip that it's went. You know, you got so many people dogging on it. No, it's going to drop now. No, actually, we're still very early on in silver, and you'd be good to get in right now, even if you haven't got in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. So. Look, some investments are going to take time, but some are going to whip around the corner and bite us. You know, like it's going to be hard to predict it. You know?
Yep. Yeah, I've been claiming that for a while. You watch, it's going to be held down, and then boom, suddenly it'll be out of reach, and then unobtainium.
Yeah, look at the price.
Will be unobtainium. What's that?
No, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Just trying to be all tongue twisted up there. Somehow it came out actually right, but I didn't think it would.
No, I'm just saying, look how fast. Like, we got price action in silver, and silver is still relatively abundant, you know, and look how fast it could be consumed. You know, we're talking about silver is a huge industry. There is a lot of silver out there, you know, relatively speaking. Okay. So when silver is being affected this drastically, this ought to show you what can happen to a metal of less resource, you know,
like copper that, like Ian said, went 3x in 9 months
and never came back down. No, we have a consumer over, you know, we have a consumer over output issue going on right now. You know, we're finding that we are consuming metals faster than we can produce them. And governments aren't helping anybody. You know, they're making it tougher and tougher and tougher to mine. And then meanwhile, nations are collapsing under the weight of all this red tape, you know, or corruptions or whatever. And we're looking at in fact, copper is going to be suffering a mining shortage this coming up year. Like a significant mining shortage, like around 20% or something, you know, or 10 to 20%, somewhere around there. We could be looking at just in a lack of production alone, you know, This could be small mines being shut down, or it could be large mines being, cost regulated, meaning they don't have enough money to actually get out there and do much more, So, I mean,
only $2 billion of silver went into retail purchases in 24 hours. Is that the right number? Because I thought it's 1 billion, not 800 million is the year's annual mining supply, right? So, or am I missing something here? Am I getting that wrong?
maybe he's talking about, until he corrects me, I'll just guess. Maybe he's kind of referring to like industry consumes a certain amount, your monetary reserves consume.
Oh, no, he means Zach. Oh, I'm sorry. I read your comment wrong. I see what you mean, Ian. He means $2 billion went into silver in retail. I see what you mean. I got you. Sorry. That makes sense.
$2 billion of silver went into retail purchase.
So like fiat dollars to buy silver, which is much more understandable. But yeah, look how fast it could get eaten up when this number changes just a little bit, and let alone what we're doing in industry. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. We have the ability to consume metals, and a lot of these fiats still have enough power in them to consume, a pretty decent amount. We're entering a flux phase where they're about to panic purchase. We'll see whole nations panic purchasing. I mean, we already are with China. Let's face it, they're panic purchasing. They don't care what the overhead is. They want it. We'll pay for it. We don't care. Take it. It'll be worthless soon. Here, take our paper. It'll be worthless soon. But if you'll accept it right now, take it. And they have no power. Our little squabbles over $5 premium, is such a petty squabble when you look at what China's doing. They don't care. Is it for sale and how much? Do I have enough money or don't I? And this is how they make their purchase. How much do you have for sale? Do I have enough money to buy that? That's really all they care about. Can I get in and buy this? And if you ask me, China's, a glimpse into the future. We're already seeing out of China what we should be expecting out of ourselves in not too long from now, Maybe I'm doomsaying. I don't want to be that way so much, but I mean, you inject a whole bunch of paper print, into a nation, and you drive everybody into poverty. They're going to take the last of their paper. They're going to convert it into something that's meaningful and matters, and it becomes even more important the less your paper is worth. And here we are today. Some of us ahead of others.
$5.50 on the Napoleon, $5.50 on the Patton, $4 on the Caesar, $4 on the Cortez, a little under, probably $3.80, $3.60 on the Grant, Charlemagne same, and Washington the same. I was just checking on the prices as they whirl around.
Nice. Man, you've got the full series. Almost.
I think, we got 3 left at least anyway, and only one more to complete the full circle here on the base, and then a couple more up top, and maybe that'll be that was their original statement of how many they were going to have. They weren't sure if they might throw in an extra one or not or something, but we'll probably wrap this one up pretty soon. Hey, Art, did you come up with a design yet? You working on a design for a round yourself? He says 100 billion into gold. People bought the wrong metal. Yes.
Wow, that's
Wow.
a stark difference.
That's crazy. 200 billion into silver and 100 billion into gold.
No,
That's crazy. That's all in 2024, huh? Woo! Interesting.
that's still a lot of money, but I mean,
Well, the ratios there, like that much going into silver as opposed to that little going in, but that must just be retail, like he's saying there, not including central banks, obviously.
right.
And the cool thing is silver is now coming into much more heavily quickly the monetary aspect of thing. You got actual central banks starting to get into silver as well. So
Well, and I think as the gold becomes a bit more inaccessible, people naturally turn to silver, as the alternative. So even your gold people end up coming to silver anyways.
yeah, and I mean, if you know anything about it, you know that it's going to move more and faster than gold. So once gold officially establishes itself in a bull market, then a lot of people who know anything about metals will want to be in silver. So
Yeah.
yeah,
They still consider silver like a common thing. I think a lot of people, when they think about it, they think about it as like a common metal and don't really understand it for its value yet, which
right.
is good for us. Maybe it buys us just a
Exactly.
little bit of time we need.
Very good for us.
So, but we don't have long. I mean, they're going to catch on eventually. Yeah.
Right, and it's still early, but like obviously you would have rather started stacking, a few years back, like my somebody in my family started back at $5 and bought a few 100-ounce bars at $5. I started at 15, and even though we're just getting going, I mean, you're happy to have already had that like tripling basically, for me, and just getting going. So it's nice to be in early, but it's still plenty early for anybody that hasn't got in yet. Crazily enough.
Yeah.
That's why you got to understand the big picture. It's all about the big picture. It's no longer the same playing field that we were on 50 years ago. So you gotta figure that out, or you're not gonna see what's happening, and you're gonna miss it, or get shaken out, like a lot of people say. Just because we'll probably get up to 70, 100, and then like come crashing back down to I don't know, 50 or 60. I mean, it's going to look bad, and before then it jumps up to 200, So a lot of people will want to be getting shaken out from what I've been told, and I can imagine it, obviously.
Right. There's always going to be a shakeout,
April 6th of 2025, silver was under 29.
Oh, the glory days, huh? that sounds real nice. Like I remember kind of scoffing at some premium pieces that were priced literally at 29, going, I don't know, that's a pretty high premium. Like, oh my word, I could have had every piece I wanted, been just fine.
Spots at 29, and you're like, oh man, 33, $4 premium. Are you serious?
Yeah.
When are you gonna make that back?
Yeah, I'll just wait for the dip. Yeah, get out of here, man. That's great. No, dude, that's I'm glad to see that piece was all right.
Yes, me too.
That was good news. That's very good news. Glad to see your value was preserved.
Yeah, just need a capsule now, but that's easy enough to do.
And you're going to put that up for auction?
Eventually, first it'll be, I'm going through the line. So I sold my first three backups have already been sold. So the Napoleon, the Patton, and the Caesar have already been sold. Left next to sell will be Cortez, and then I got a Grant and a Charlemagne, and then comes the Washington. By then I'll have my good capsule for it. So
That's good. Yeah, it's going to be a hard collection to break down the road, man.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know that you'll necessarily need to, though.
Yeah,
Not if we
that's the
get the
thing this
performance we're
time.
looking for.
Say again?
I said I don't know that you'll need to, not if we get the performance we're looking for.
Right.
No.
Yeah, if things go the
And look,
way.
just participate, guys. Like, nobody has to FOMO. Just, align yourself with this, and participate. You just got to participate. Once you get involved and get moving, like, look, us dreaming back about if you haven't started yet, when we're dreaming back about 5, 10, 15 years ago, whatever it is, wish we would have got more than that, back then. Well, today's
Same
that
day,
thing.
yeah.
It's the same thing. Just get on it. And before you know it, your stack will be back up there. Your prices will be increasing, sure. But so will the value of all those pieces you bought at a much lower price. I believe we've got a long way to go. And I'm not telling everybody to run out and panic buy silver, but I think if a feller wanted to invest a reasonable amount, then I think he could have a little bit of confidence in this, that, like, hey, if you're willing to stick it out for more than 3 days, you'll probably be all right.
Yeah. Get it done, Lynette Zhang. Indeed. Speaking of Lynette, got a nice little chart on the back here showing the value of the dollar down to basically nothing, and the chart of gold overperforming.
That's cool.
Get her done. Lynette Zhang with a little bit of Jeff Foxworthy slang. Get her done.
Yeah. And anybody listening, like, if you guys are having a hard time with your markets, get a hold of us. And let's see if we can hook you up. Like, we can always direct you to Ian, and for any like real large purchases you need, we can find. It's good to develop the community right now before there's like a panic out there. Secure your community, secure your resources, and just know that, like, we're here to help you. We want to help you. We all need to be empowered. That way we can take care of each other too.
Exactly. That's why I started this channel, was to help other people, to get into it, because like Space Miner's saying, we all need to be in it to support each other. This isn't a show off thing. This is understand the big picture and join in, because we need the community of understanding people to preserve themselves and their families. So
Yeah.
that's the key. So yeah, and I'll have to do a video on starting my channel. When I started my channel, I made a boring slow video of me talking about why I was getting into both precious metals and ancient coins. And they both have to do with seeing the bigger picture and I want to make a little video on the imagery that we can glean from ancient coins that's been stamped into metal for thousands of years, showing the reality of what they viewed at that time, and giving you an idea of how they viewed things. And then just moving that up to today's date, where we're just stacking regular silver and gold, and why I moved into silver and gold, and the correlation between the ancient imagery and monetary value of ancient coins, and what that was saying then, and what it's saying now, and how I was able to come to that understanding, and what that's telling us about the future. I wanna tie that all together, and that's what this channel was started for, was to help people wrap their minds around understanding where we've came from and where we're returning to, and why things are this way. So we will hopefully have that coming up soon. And I think with that, we'll probably wrap it up for this evening. Oh my goodness, it's already 9:41. Woo! I did not realize it
started
that late. Yeah. But anything else you'd like to throw in there, Space Miner, before we wrap it up?
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I like that we get under the surface on these things. Everybody's ready with their parrot talk, and I'm tired of hearing a bunch of squawking parrots, that don't understand what they're squawking about.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate, the ability to, you allowing me to, bring some challenges to the table and address those, because that helps me too. And I appreciate chat, of course. Man, we always have the best people in chat, and we get so much from you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Indeed.
You guys contribute so much to this and really help us learn too. So thank you. And of course, thank you, Ian, for coming in and helping support the conversation too.
Yep.
So,
one last time for anybody, here is Ian Everard at ARC SGO. He has a brick and mortar store in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and understands the metals and the bigger picture that we've been talking about. And he reach out to him, and he'll I've heard him talk about how he likes to talk with people, and it really does. Each individual person is going to be coming at the market from a different angle, with different goals, different abilities, different things, reasons to stack, ways to stack. And Ian is a great person to understand that full picture and reach out to, and he'll take care of you. So give him a call. And with that, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Space Miner, thanks for stopping by. And we will catch you all on the next one. Thanks, guys.